Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pull Up 3. I am Paragon Don.
I'm Jamae.
And I'm Jay Trey.
And today we have a lovely esteemed guest, Mr. Kevin Lewis. Would you like to tell the people about yourself, what you do, things of that nature?
Absolutely. So I always start off every podcast with my famous saying, what up, what it is, what's popping. And I'm just a normal kid from the Bronx originally
I
who
hear it.
moved to the South that really enjoys women's basketball, man. A little bit about me. I'm a producer and writer, first for the 9450 and a writer for the local W. So shout out to those. Shout out to my partners, DA and Lauren, aka Lolo. Um, it's crazy because the way that I started off in women's basketball, it's been, you know, maybe I'm telling my age, it's probably almost 20 years. Um, so it's funny because my wife, she played high school basketball, and I had cousins prior to meeting my wife, play high school and college basketball, and those were the women that got me into women's basketball. So I was a walk-on at Clemson University in 2006, spent about maybe a month and a half before them grades started chipping in, and was like, I, might need to focus on that. But it was a great experience, playing ACC basketball for a month and a half. It was pretty cool. But I really stuck to the roots of basketball and women's basketball in particular, because without that opportunity walking on, I wouldn't have the opportunity to be a scout player for the Clemson women's basketball team. And I really just stayed on the women's side from then on out. Did some consulting for different high schools, both boys and the girls side. Did some AAU work. Was an assistant coach for a few good Charlotte AAU squads, but everything always led back to women's basketball. So in 2020, myself and Daniel Artest, we decided that we would make it full time, and we created the 9450. And since then, we've been grinding, putting in work, putting in podcasts, writing, and all other, good things, from a women's basketball standpoint. I've kind of stuck to my roots, stayed in the grassroots area, stayed in the college area, at least try to cover everything, in the Southeast region. But it's been fun. But that's kind of like my backstory. And like I said, man, like I just love women's basketball. And even though I love basketball, period, women's basketball has a special place in my heart, because I feel like that's the sport, or the side of the sport that really taught me the game. So it's been fun.
It's funny because I was definitely going to ask you like how you got into it. So I'm very glad you answered as extensively as you did. Fantastic intro, by all means. Um, So did you, and we're going to talk about delivery, but so how would, since you've been a WNBA or women's basketball fan for so long, for 2 decades, how would you describe how you see it being approached from your earliest moments to like now, like from a fan standpoint, and to like how outsiders approaching it? Because I can imagine a decade, 2 decades ago, a decade ago, you tell people you watching women's basketball and they were like, ugh. And like,
Yeah, so what's funny? Of course, with the inception of the WNBA in '97, a lot of people don't know how much of a phenomenon it was, back then. And I was what? I was like 9 when it first started. And it's funny because 97, everybody talks about 97, but a lot of people don't really talk about 94, 95, and 96, when the U.S. women's national team came onto the scene. There was a huge phenomenon in 96 with the Olympics being in Atlanta, and how the U.S. women's national team with names like Cheryl Swoops, Dawn Staley, Lisa Leslie, and even Rebecca Lobo, even though Lobo was just coming out of college, those names stuck out. And one name in particular by the name of Teresa Edwards, who was a legend in this game as well, who didn't, have too long of a career in the WNBA. She was kind of like the pinnacle of that women's national team. So for me as a youngin, like looking at that was very important. And then the following year, if you guys are familiar, and I'm pretty sure you are familiar, the TV show Martin, he highlighted the women's national team, and that episode is one of the most famous episodes that he has, to this day. So that actually expounded on more people being interested. So to see it now, right, from a social media standpoint, because obviously we have an evolution on how the games are watched, how people engage. Back then you didn't have a lot of the social media stuff. Like a lot of it you had to look at like literally via talk shows, and I'm talking about talk shows was like big back in the day. I mean, like y'all gonna be like, what? But like there were talk shows like Ricky Lake, like Sally Jesse Raphael. Y'all gonna be looking at like, who are these people? Like I'm talking about like talk shows was like the biggest thing as far as news and social construct that we had like back in the late 90s. So with that, with newspapers, and with magazines, that's all we had. So when the WNBA first started, like people were into it. I mean, we're talking about millions of people watching on TV. The NBA on NBC was a huge thing. So with the backing of the NBA, like the WNBA had a really good, solid marketing tool, and David Stern, the former commissioner of the NBA, was very smart about that. But kind of like when you got into like the mid 2000s, it's almost as if like the WNBA was like, we don't need our big brother. Like we got it, which in my opinion, I think was a big mistake just from a marketing standpoint, because I don't think that they had enough um, maturity and growth from a business and marketing standpoint to hold themselves on its own. And that's why you started seeing a little bit of the decline, and you started seeing a lot of the disrespect, just from an overall vision standpoint. So I always come about it, as a business person first, because I am, in that field as well from a corporate standpoint. I always talk about how bad it was then for the leaders of the WNBA. And I really genuinely believe that there were just people that just were thrown into the mix and just didn't have, like the acumen to launch it the way that they needed to. But to see it now, I think we're starting to get back to that 97, 98, 99 feel. And obviously with the emergence of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, and this draft class, I think has been, very, 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 very astonishing. But even getting before that, I think last year in 2023, we saw an emergence of kind of like the for lack of better terms, the super team, right? Like the moment Breanna Stewart decided to go to New York, right? The moment Candace Parker decided to sign with the Las Vegas Aces, there goes your rivalry. Like in any sport, you have to have some type of rival. You have to have some type of entity that will get you intrigued to watching whatever that entity is, right? So for that, I feel like that kind of started it. So for it to be a New York versus Vegas thing, and the way that Vegas won last year, like catapulted like viewership, and the way that the Aces carried themselves, I thought that was really, really good for the league. And right in your backyard, you have the NCAA women's basketball tournament doing numbers the way they do numbers. And that's all, a component back to Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. So that I say all of that, right? To answer your question, I think it's been a great ascension of what we saw back in the day, versus what we see now. I think obviously the biggest difference is you go from, them being on talk shows and TV shows to now, like they're everywhere. Like, and you can at least get a little hand to touch them because you have social media. You can interact with them quicker. You can, you know, haters are gonna do their hating stuff. They're gonna do their troll stuff. Like it is what it is. But in retrospect, that's what makes leagues popular. Like you always are going to have the people that love you and you always going to have the people that hate you. The only difference is, again, they can touch you a little bit closer than they did back in the day. And for me as a fan, like I just like the excitement of basketball and the way that they're playing the game. And I mean, it's just a beautiful game to see, in my opinion.
Again, I very much appreciate your answer, and this has been lovely. I'm sure I will ask you like 50 questions when this is over.
No, no problem, man. I'm a almanac, encyclopedia, diction. Like whenever what anything WNBA, anything women's basketball, man. Like I love the game so much. And like I don't know how I listen. I'm a fan of you guys, so I do want to be respectful, right? But if we're gonna shoot the shit, like let's shoot the shit. You know what I'm saying? I just enjoy genuine, conversation about the league. So, anything that you guys want to ask, I mean, like you can make it you can make it as easy as possible. I mean, we can have the hard hitting conversations as well. Like, I mean, I'm an open book. So, just hit me up whenever.
We appreciate that. We will definitely do that. Well, to get on to the Liberty, um, as we all know, bringing back a championship team is really hard. Even if the expansion draft did not happen, it was very unlikely that the Liberty would have been able to bring back everyone on the roster. And now we do have the expansion draft. So at most, I mean, they can only protect up to 6 people.
You gonna
Um,
start there? You're not even gonna premise what happened, like the record. Nut. You just gonna jump to
no,
the.
no. Nah, as we know, the Liberty won a championship. You know what I'm saying? It was, you know, uh, controversial as is. That banner is there forever. Uh, the contents of it will be forgotten in history because the record book is there. It doesn't even matter. Um,
It will not be forgotten. Let's
it
point that
won't.
out.
It,
It will
it
not
won't
be
be forgotten by me, but it's gonna. You know what I'm saying? The annals of history. I'll tell my kids about it, but you know, uh, who do we believe that 6 people that they're bringing back and their expectations as far as like potential free agent signings and how they're going to replace the pieces that they had? I know MJ was talking about coming back to the league next year. Uh, More than likely, she's not going to come back to Liberty or be able to. Her being a Valkyrie would be really fun and having her own team, but we'll talk about that another day. Um, but yeah, what are our expectations for that?
um. You got some, Jay? I don't know. I don't want to slander them.
Oh,
So
as far as like what the
okay,
pieces that
wait.
they
I think okay. I guess overall, I think we should start with overall, like how we thought they did. Um, and I'll say like, yeah, they won, but honestly, I think they had a pretty good season. I mean, they won, and then, but even just like between that, I think the cool thing that we saw was how like Sloot kind of handed the keys to Sabrina over the course of the season. And even like Sloot going to the bench and letting Leo be a starter. I think that kind of worked for them. I am curious because I feel like if they're going to make that jump again, like if they're going to try to run it back, they're definitely going to need a lot more from Sabrina. Like especially from a point guard perspective, because I don't think like she kind of got saved a lot, and I feel like while the New York was prepared to play the Aces, they did not seem at all prepared to play the Lynx, despite playing them 4 times. And obviously, like every time they played them during the regular season, I think they only won one of the matchups. So like they really weren't prepared. And honestly, it showed. It showed really bad, and it's funny because um both teams didn't have like traditional point guards. I think Courtney Williams was like a little bit better as a PG, but it started to really show that Sabrina wasn't a traditional point guard, and so like it meant that everybody else had to do more. And I think it definitely hurted that Banaja didn't like was injured, and so she couldn't contribute as much as she did outside of that like that one game where she went off. Like they thank God for her, but like outside of that, it just seemed like I don't know. I guess like overall I think it's good, but are they with this team even holding, let's say they don't get a Kayla Thornton or let's say they don't get a Kayla Thornton back is like I'm not really like I maybe have 40% belief in them that they can run it back, assuming everything stays the same. Maybe, Sabrina comes with another leap, but if she doesn't, it's looking a little bad for them. But yeah.
My my thoughts are that the fact that the Liberty ended up winning a championship with Sabrina putting up one of the worst uh finals men or women's performances I've ever seen in my life as a whole is absolutely insane. But it's also beautiful at the same time. They held together very well. Kelsey talked about them not being a team, and I think last year they performed and played like they really weren't. And I think this year they kept things together really well, like through thick and thin. So that was beautiful. I will say about Sabrina, I do appreciate the fact that she was willing to die on her sword. Like to have the confidence to be 0 for 14, 15 and shoot another three is insane. But that's what you need in basketball. You cannot be sane and do things that of that nature. Ended up hitting some of the biggest shots because her field goal percentage just did not matter. And I would always rather a star player go out shooting than for you to not shoot because you was missing or you was worried about missing or you was just off and you stopped. Especially when it comes to these type of like we're getting to the playoffs, the semifinals, the whatever finals. Like I would much rather you shoot and do what you have to do. Um, Stewie, it'll be interesting to see what she looks like next year. Obviously, Stewie is going to be a top player in the league for a very long time. Like it's going to be a while before she's not in top 5 conversations. But this is the first year in a while I did not consider her a 1A, 1B, or at least the second best player in the league. I think B really cemented herself, and Stewie was very up and down at certain points, especially early on. So it'll be interesting if there is more of a Stewie decline in a sense. And what the Liberty like is another Sabrina ascension enough to overcome if Stewie does get a little bit worse for Stewie. I mean, again, Stewie's still gonna be if Stewie gets a little bit worse at basketball, she's still better than 97% of the league. But yeah, so that'll be interesting.
So
Oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say you mentioning that this was a year where you felt like Stewie took a bit of a dip. I almost feel like that was by design because it feels like the way that roster is set up, it was almost them looking and saying Sabrina is the head of the snake. Like the team goes as she goes. So Now, I feel like defensively, Stewie played some of her best basketball this past
Absolutely.
season.
Absolutely.
So, but I agree though. I agree that the scoring numbers fell off. I believe the shooting percentages, and to be more specific, off a bit from what we're used to seeing from a player of her caliber. But it feels like offensively they want Sabrina to be the driving force behind that. And that's not just the fact that, she has that gravity vertically, the vertical space, and they have to guard her farther out than they have to guard anyone else. And they need her to develop the playmaking chops to be able to find her teammates in their spots. Like she was able to play in tandem with JJ a lot. And that opens up the offense for the Liberty. So I think something that I took from the finals was when the games got muddy, they needed to find a way, which of course is easier said than done, but that's basketball. I mean, it happens that way. Like you can draw up the perfect play, get the perfect look for the shooter you wanted, and it don't go down, but the game ain't over. Like you have to work that out to get to whatever's next. So it got muddy in the finals, and they they had to scrap to you know pull them wins out. Like they lost they lost game one at home. They had that big 13-point stretch from Benaja in game two, and they were able to get out to a big lead. And then they game three they pulled it out again. Like they those games were difficult, but that's how you build a championship team. I feel like next year, mentally, that's like that group has gotten over a hump now because that's the last hurdle to clear. Once you've done that, you carry yourself differently. Like it makes me think about in the NBA in 2019 or even before 2019, you look at those Raptors teams and how they would look when they would play against, LeBron and the Cavs, and they won that championship in 2019. In 2020, when Kawhi was gone, that team still carried themselves differently because they were a team that had championship pedigree. So I feel like that could happen in a similar way for the Liberty next year.
Yeah, I can see that, Jay. So it's funny that you all mentioned the shooting because Stewie and Sabrina were combined 5 for 34 in that game, and they still won that game. I'm still kind of like flabbergasted on, not necessarily how they won because we know how they won, but the idea of them going 5 for 34 in that game and they still win the game. Like normally, if your two-star players, outside of Benijah and JJ go 5 for 34, you're not winning that game. That's just it is what it is, but they ended up winning that game. But what's more important is the people or the person I would say that really came out in that game and really showed a big difference, and that was Niara Sabali. And I know we're going to get into it, but I think she's going to be one of the six just after her performance from game three to game five because she comes in game three and she shows off in the minutes that Sandy Brondello gave her, right? She does the same thing in game four, not necessarily scoring, but rebounding the ball, screening correctly, playing proper defense, and at least showing some type of you know, un uncomfortable for Fee, because even on those cross matches, she guarded Fee for the most part. And then, coming back in game five and having like 19 points, like that's crazy. So I think that that's very important to kind of consider that. But overall, you're right, Jay. They got over a hump. I think that they had the most pressure. I've said it all season long that the New York Liberty had the absolute most pressure out of any team, because you can't say that the Aces had the most pressure because they're two-time champions. So what if you're trying to go for a three-peat? It hasn't happened since the Houston Comets. So, like, does it really matter if they go for a three-peat? Maybe to Aces fans, maybe, but to the overall general public, highly doubt it. Because the overall general public, they either don't like the Aces because of what was going on in that situation, or they absolutely love the Aces and they're just going to defend their team. But for the vast majority of the season, we saw, Aces versus Liberty, right? Aces versus Liberty. And you see all of the Liberty fans, they're going to do their thing. I mean, but the Lynx, they were slated to be picked ninth. Like nobody had the Lynx as a top five team, unless you were like extreme outside of Minnesota Lynx fans, right? And outside of people who actually know the game. I think the 9450, I think we had them in the top five. I think we had them right at five. Just because we saw something last year. We thought that they made incredible leaps from the injury plague season before, and then Big Sil retiring. That was a lot for them. So we didn't expect them to be two, though. We did not think they were going to be two. That's just going to be that's just straight up. But for and Jermaine said something earlier that was very, very intriguing that a lot of people like really slept on. And I said it as well. And the reason why I bring it back up is because I said it. I said in a tweet, and I think that tweet went semi-viral because everybody was going crazy over it. I said that the New York Liberty were built to beat the Aces, but they were not built to beat the Lynx. Like literally, luck was on their side. Like, let's just keep it a bean. Like, luck was on their side. And any championship team, you got to have a little bit of luck, right? So, respectfully, I love what the Liberty did. I mean, stand up, New York. Like, this is their first basketball championship in 51 years. Like, yeah, I'm gonna rock for it. But at the same time, you got to have the personnel. You got to have the pedigree. You got to sprinkle a little bit of luck in there. So, I mean, and it happened. Like, come on, let's not deny it. It happened, but overall, like, I'm extremely proud of this team because they were able to do it, no matter how you feel about it. Like, they were indeed able to do it. So, I think, just moving forward, and I know we'll talk about this, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what the team looks like next year. They hold all the cards, like, and that's what you have to give credit to Jonathan Kolb for. Like, they laughed at Jonathan Kolb because the Aces were bringing in Megan Gustafson, right? They didn't anticipate Candace Parker retiring at the beginning of training camp because they felt like, she was going to be there, right? So when you have the Aces retooling and bringing in Megan Gustafson, right? At the time, you're going to have Candace Parker back from the foot injury, right? Like they're ready for that three-peat. But like everybody's looking around and saying like, dog, like what are the Liberty doing? Like they're not making any free agent moves. They're not making any trades. What are they doing? Like they want to be mid coming into 2024. They literally want to be mid coming into 2024. But a lot of people didn't know Leonie Febish, the Febish that saved New York. She literally saved New York. And matter of fact, y'all go check out that piece that I wrote on the local W, literally titled "The Febish That Saved New York." If she doesn't hit that corner three in overtime, like I don't know what the outcome would be, right? So like Leonie Febish came in and a 6'4" versatile kind of like I don't know what is she? Is she a guard? Is she a forward? Like what is she? She can shoot, she can handle the rock, she can play defense, she has length. Like she did a lot of things for this New York Liberty team that was very, very incredible. And I think it was even more important that she had Niara there, her fellow Germany teammate. So like for her to come in and do what she did, it was amazing. Like you said, P and J and J for Vandersloot to have the season that she had, knowing that she had her mom passed away, and for her to give the keys to Sabrina and say, "Listen, like you're gonna have to run this offense," like, and then to turn back around and say, "Okay, playoff time, I'll take a step back. I'll come off the bench," and she played incredibly well off the bench. It's really good to see, and who knows, like Courtney Vandersloot might say, you know what, this is my last hurrah. I hope she says this is my last hurrah, to be honest with you. I wouldn't mind her being on the coaching staff.
I
You know what I'm
would
saying?
if I was her. I ain't got nothing else to do.
Like, come on, Al. I'll just be on the sideline. I ain't gotta play no more. Like, come on, let's just, we can go back to Chicago when you want to. I can go back to Seattle when I want to. Like, we ain't gotta play no more. Like, I just got that championship. This is our championship. So like go ahead and enjoy that. You don't have to play anymore. Allow Jalen Sherrod to come in and shout out to Jalen Sherrod. I love her, by the way. You know, um, I just think that, from that standpoint, the New York Liberty, in the future is going to have to think, really long and hard about how they assemble their roster. I think it's going to be, I don't know if they'll core Stewie, to be honest with you. Stewie has already said publicly, listen, I'm signing, I'm signing 1+1s until we get this new money. Like, I'm just gonna sign 1 year deals until we see this new money. I'm not gonna be committed to a long-term thing. Like, so it's definitely something that we're gonna look at. And I can't wait to see what Jonathan Cole does, because again, he did an amazing job. Like, you know, shame on shame on me for questioning it earlier. But when I found out that Leonie Fiebish was coming back and coming across, myself and Mark Schindler, we talked about that in our draft preview. We said that, hey, Leo might be a huge piece, and my God, if she wasn't, she did an incredible job this year. So we'll see what happens, for the future. But Jonathan Kolb did a great job assembling this team.
I say, yeah, like my hot take all year is like, I feel like if people knew Caitlin Clark was always supposed to win Rookie of the Year, like she was destined for it. But if the world knew that Leo was a rookie, like day one,
Yes,
Caitlin might would have been cooked. I don't know, like because
she would have been got hyped
it's
up. You
it's
right.
just no way that like and the thing that I really appreciated about Leo is that like she has been so consistent. It don't matter if Sandy give her 5 minutes or 15 or 35. Like she gonna come in, she gonna defend, she gonna hit a couple threes, she gonna do what she gotta do. And I think that like to be a rookie doing that like is insane, especially on a team like you said is this is the year y'all have to win because
Yes.
y'all legacies is looking real crazy in the light if you don't. And the slander,
Real funny.
like the slander gonna be real. Like it's going y'all might have to lock the accounts because like this is on y'all. Like this is y'all moment, Especially when we heard Candace Parker wasn't coming back. Seattle, they looked crazy from the beginning. Nobody ever believes in Connecticut. So it's like this was y'all moment. And if y'all was not rising to that occasion, it was not gonna be cute for you. But yeah, Leo's I loved her down. Um, but yeah, like now we could really talk about like who we want to keep in expansion and like well, who you would keep in expansion.
Uh, Jonquel, Stewie, Sabrina, Beebich, Benaja, and Sabali is my six.
You said JJ Stewie Sab and who?
JJ, Stewie, Sab, Benaja,
Beach
T-Bitch,
and
and
Niara.
Niara. Yeah.
You
Courtney
got
Vandersloot, if you're not retiring by choice, you will not be playing on my team.
she's also unrestricted free agent. I mean, she can still get saved, but still.
I lay you down.
I'm gonna raise my hand right quick. I'm sorry. If what P just mentioned isn't the consensus, like I I I'm just gonna be like I'm a kind of side eye. I'm a side eye you like literally the six that he named should be the six that be saved. Like I'm already jumping the gun, and I'm sorry to jump in front of the line, but I
There
but
is
I
not a
agree
line.
I
There's the
agree
goal
with
line.
P. I agree with P. Like I mean, like listen. KT did an amazing job, right? We got her a ring. She can get up out of there. She can get up out of there. It's okay. It is okay. She can get up out of there. Especially with her whole Papa John's talk and all of that.
No,
I'm not so-
she's literally insane. Like I was like, she was like, they asked her what kind of pizza she liked, and she was like, Papa John's. I was like, girl, all the
Right.
choices.
All
Papa,
the joints in New York, and you talking about Papa John's.
she
Papa
was
John. I mean, yeah, I get it. You from Texas. I get it. But bro, dog, Brooklyn, Manhattan, like,
that makes
dog, you could even go to Staten Island and probably get a good slice. You might. Like, what are we doing? Like, what?
I just
Papa
think
John's?
I think it's funny how if you had asked me who were the six that the Liberty were keeping before the playoffs started, and you were like, "Yeah, we're keeping the R," I would be like, "What are you talking about? Like what?
Right.
Like
I
no.
agree.
Well, I ain't gonna say
I was
nothing.
like,
I think no. I feel
I
like
like for what?"
when we talked about this like a couple months ago, I feel like one of us definitely said Sably, but
yeah,
I believed in her back
yeah,
then.
I think
But she just didn't get picked.
yeah, yeah, if I remember correctly, I think we did mention her. I don't think we ended up keeping her at the
Hmm.
time because this was like right when they announced the teams were coming. But I feel like we mentioned her. I think I want to say it was Jamae that was saying they could want to keep Niara Sabali because of you know having a key piece that wouldn't be an older player that's expiring or whatever. And but now like Kevin said, I feel like it has like those are the six now. Like it's the consensus. It should be.
I just feel like if beforehand it would have been like, oh, if I'm trying to keep like a young piece out of more than likely kept Jalen Sherrod.
Hmm.
Uh, but now it's like she really saved herself from having to buy movers. I
Yeah.
insane. Like
Yeah.
Okay.
her whole life changed.
And also, right, Satu is an unrestricted free agent. So if I'm Jonathan Cole and I'm like, let me see if I can keep Niara, we know that this salary cap is about to go up.
I would
She could be the key.
I would look at her really funny if she did that. I can't even lie to you.
She was on, I saw more videos of her on the fucking parade float than I see anybody else. You didn't even
Yo,
play. Why are you in the front? Like, why are you popping
yo,
pills? You
she
weren't there.
said, that's my sister. We got a championship.
I get it. I
my
think I
my
would.
sister don't have a we.
I also would be on them buses on them boats with my sibling. Like I don't care. I could play for a rival franchise. It don't
Where
matter.
where the champagne at? You got two of them. Get two of them. Two of them. One for me
I
too.
might not
Thank you.
like half the players on this roster because we got a rivalry, but I promise you, I will be with my sibling. If me and another player on this team got beef, it will be squashed today.
Yo, she was doing the TikToks on the float. I was like, oh my God, yo, she really thought she won. She thought she won.
Like, why is Holly asking her questions? Like, sister, she did not play. Why is she on the platform? Don't give her no hat. She don't even go
Yo,
here. Like, uh-uh.
that was oh my God, that was the funniest thing. But I took a step back. I was like, you know what, yeah, let her enjoy that.
Let
Her
her have
sister,
it.
let her enjoy that with her sister. That was, but that was extremely hilarious. But I think from a strategy standpoint, right? Um, I would keep Niara. And again, we also have to consider the injuries, right? Because Niara hasn't been, she hasn't been the healthiest throughout her career. She sat out her rookie year because of a knee injury. She had a little bit of back problems. And with a back, anything with a back or a hip, you got to watch out for. So, I know that would be a concern as well. But the way that she played, and hopefully she doesn't turn into like a so there was this player. Um, I can't remember his last name, but his first name is Jerome, and they called him the Junkyard Dog. And there was like a playoff series back in like 98 or 99 or something like that, where he went off. Like he just went insane. Like I think he averaged like almost 20, had like 8 or 9 rebounds. And the New York Knicks signed him to like a huge free agency deal. You think that man averaged 20 plus in 8 or 9 rebounds since then? Hell no. So it's like you gotta kind of be careful. Yeah, she scored 19 in game 5, and she was like the catalyst of them winning because Sandy goes with that big lineup with Stewie being the point guard. And me personally, I think that's the reason why they literally came back in that game because there shouldn't be any excuse for Minnesota to be up 12, and the refs didn't help until literally the fourth quarter. Like if you go back in the game, Minnesota was in control and they just did not have an answer for the big lineup. They just didn't have an answer for it. And that's part of the reason why that big comeback came about for New York. But just going back to the whole idea of the six, right? I really personally believe that should be your six. I think that Jalen probably won't get picked up. I truly believe that Marquisha probably won't get picked up, so they would essentially come back. Um, if I'm Jonathan Kolb, I'm not ignoring Jalen or Marquisha because these are young pieces that can spell Sabrina minutes. And I think Jalen Sherrod being under Sabrina and being under Courtney this year, like that will give them it gives her experience first, and it gives her an opportunity to show her worth in 2025. And who knows, maybe they can use that roster to potentially run it back. Only time will tell, but Jonathan Kolb has to be extremely smart about this. But again, Courtney, go ahead and coach somewhere or do your other thing. KT, we love you dearly, but you can go back to Dallas if you want. Dang, Latricia ain't there no more. Like, just go back to Dallas. Do you or be a Valkyrie, whatever you want to be. But you can't be a Liberty. Not, nah, we can't keep you as a six.
So
Nah, we can't
okay,
keep you.
since the six is kind of understood, if the Valkyrie were to pick up a player, are we assuming it would be Kayla Thornton?
They're absolutely picking up Caleb Thornton.
Yeah, I think you can
There's
assume
Yeah,
no
I
Kayla.
way
She
think
would she
so.
that
would be the power forward or three, whatever. I think it'll be understood.
But okay, I just really quick. So when we did our expansion draft, we did it during like week 5 of the WNBA. So still
Hmm.
super early. And our six were Stewie, JJ, Sab, Benaja, KT, and Marquisha. So that just
Okay.
kind of shows us too, like how much And this is part of Sandy's fault because again, if Leo was playing these minutes that we saw after week 5, during week 2, like we definitely would have had a different conversation. And
Mhm.
even they didn't have Jalen at the time. And yeah, and Nara was like out
Injury.
for
Yeah.
the first like
Yeah,
5 weeks.
she was injured.
So yeah, so it's funny just to see like how, I mean, obviously Stewie, JJ, and Sab and B are like the constants, but just funny to see like how things have like slightly shifted. But yeah, I do think KT will be the one that's gone. Like,
Things in sports change so fast, and it's
So
honestly so crazy
fast.
to me. Like, this player can mean the world to me today, and I won't pay dust to him tomorrow, and vice versa. I did not like. I wanted Peyton Pritchard gone since he got there, and now I can't imagine if he wasn't on the Celtics hitting half court shots every buzzer beater. I cannot
You
believe
know
he
what? You know how crazy that
changed
is,
my life
P?
like this.
You know how crazy that is, P? Like him and Derek White, like, why y'all shooting all these half-court shots and making them?
The fact that we were able to have the very first NBA special teams player, I'm very honored. Oh, boy, everybody froze, and I almost yelled. I was like, please, God, no. Yeah.
okay.
Oh
Um,
man, this is fun. I haven't laughed on a podcast in so long. I ain't gonna say and lie to you. Like I always try to be all demure and professional, right? Like,
This is what we want. When we were interviewing Elena, like it was just so like it was very similar to this, and that's why I think I enjoyed it so much, but we also enjoyed it so much. It just feels like I think that's what we try to aim for is for us to feel people to feel as comfortable as we feel talking to each other. Like I talk to
yeah.
them all day, and like it's like let's get silly, guys.
I know y'all group chat is lit. I know it. I just know it.
they get a little
That's what's
insane sometimes.
up.
They get a little insane sometimes.
And
Okay, so we got
it be my fault.
it. All right, we got our 6. Um, is there anybody that you think the Liberty could trade for right now? Is there anybody that you're like, they definitely, realistically, they should have their sights on, um, with their 6 in mind?
So from a trade standpoint, that's going to be very, very hard to determine. And the only reason why I say that is because we have to think about it from a structural standpoint, right? Because I think if I'm not mistaken, I think JJ is either I know Stewie is a free agent for sure. Because
Mhm.
I don't have it in front of me. I know Stewie is a free agent for sure, and I think JJ and Saab may have one more year on their contracts before they become free agents. Now, I this is what I wouldn't be surprised about. I wouldn't be surprised if New York were to put JJ in a package from a sign and trade standpoint in bringing in Satu, because
Mm.
that's probably the only way she would be able to come to New York, because first she is an unrestricted free agent. However, pause, comma, when you are unrestricted free agent like that, like I know you ain't just gonna come to New York on some $100,000 deal. Like
Mhm.
you're probably gonna want to see close to 200K, money. And structurally, because we're in a hard cap, like it's impossible for Satu to just come in and take less than what she had at because I think she signed an extension for Dallas before she became unrestricted. So like I just think that if anybody was going to be the trade piece, unfortunately, it would be the Finals MVP, because so many other teams are going to want a JJ. Um, I also wouldn't be surprised if it's not JJ, it'd be Benijah. And
I
just
can see that.
going by, just the history. right? Coming in, had the knee, she had both, I think both knees had to be repaired from a surgical standpoint. So like I wouldn't be surprised at that either. Um, um, but I just have a feeling that Kobe is like, nah, man, we got to run it back with that core, that core four, um, plus, Leo and Niara now, right? I think he can figure out the other complementary pieces. And again, if you're smart enough, and I hope he is, keeping Marquisha, hopefully you can keep Marquisha. Hopefully you can add Jalen to that because Jalen adds a defensive element that a lot of people don't talk about. Like her one-on-one defense is great. And God bless, she was able to be on a championship team because I think that will teach her a lot. And it did teach her a lot. So that's the only thing that I see. And I know P, I know you agree with the Benija part. Y'all kind of y'all eyes lit up when I said JJ. Like that's a possibility. That's literally a
My
possibility.
my eyes lit up because I could not imagine being the GM making that decision. I would throw
Right.
up in the bathroom every day because it's like theoretically, yeah, I get better, but it's also kind of nasty.
That's
And
yeah, that is nasty
it's
work.
kind of foul. And it kind of just reminds me of like, oh, I mean, although these situations aren't necessarily similar, it reminds me of the Clippers trade Blake Griffin, and then like Steve Ballmer trying to like talk to Blake Griffin, and Blake Griffin like ran away from him. And I just know like if I won a Finals MVP for a team and they traded me away to Dallas.
But you know what though? Like, well,
They did. Hey, they did
we're
it to
not talking
Natasha
about that.
Howard.
So I'm gonna let them rock. But I would say from a JJ perspective, I don't know. I think she might be open to leaving because like to me, she talked about going to New York for more opportunities, but lady, you went there for a championship. Like we don't need a lie. Like you went there for the championship. You got it. Your resume is
So
MVP,
yeah, kind of like
championship,
Stamp.
finals MVP. I got
Yep.
what I came here for. And so now I can be, I can take some Candace Parker minutes. You know what I'm saying? Let me be in there, play my 15 minutes and go sit down because I mean, and that's not to say that she don't, she can't continue to be a high level player, but like the thing, and I will give her credit because this season I feel like she was actually like playing very seriously the entire
Right.
season. Like, last season it
Very,
was
very.
like I'm gonna check in when I feel like it. But this
The
season she
most
played very
consistent.
seriously and like it she got flowers from it. But I honestly feel like she's like, all right, well, like it ain't nothing else to do. Like I did what I needed to do. Like hopefully she gets some endorsements from it, but I don't know. I wouldn't, I'm shocked because I could very well see I would have, I think, been more like Sab is out of there because I feel like Stewie is the one. And even with their like when I look at their roster, they had Ivana Dwaykic on there. Um
Right,
and she was
right.
the Seattle PG and she looked really good in Seattle. And so I thought with Sloop being out, Ivana would be kind of like the cheaper version of Sloop, but giving Sab the keys, like it worked out. But I think she being a little bit more of a traditional PG, like does does something for them where I feel like getting some maybe, still having a Leo, having a JJ, they can like fill in the dots. Whereas they can maintain what they have if they let Sab walk or they trade Sab away versus the JJ. Because I feel like it's kind of hard too for them to come by good centers. At least in the way that JJ plays too, in terms of them stretching the floor and the way they want to play run offense.
I'm a be I hate that I'm doing this, right? But I'm gonna be conspiracy brother right quick.
Hey, we can put on our tinfoil hats because I got some conspiracy myself. Let's.
Listen, so Sab is set to be a free agent next year, right?
Mhm.
Isn't Portland coming through next year?
Yeah. See, I there.
We're
I
going,
knew it.
we're going back to Oregon.
You feel me? You know what I mean? I'm like, oh well, another expansion, she might try to say, oh played poorly in 2025. So New York won't you know, have to retain me, you know. I'm
Get
just
on out of here.
Well. Let's step up this tinfoil hat conspiracy a little bit more. How about this? The the Liberty lose in the second round next year, and they decide it's over. Let's just blow it up. Sab goes to Oregon. John Quell is a Miss Raptor.
wow.
Miss Raptor.
Wow. And they leave Stu in New York
Stewie get Stewie get Stewie
like
yes
Will Smith.
Stewie get left on an island, and by mid-season she gets they 16 and 12 and something, and or I guess by that point they'd have to be like 12 and 8 or something. I don't know, not good. And she gets traded somewhere, and yeah, we go from there. But
You actually, I love the conspiracy, but Stewie would never be that down bad. Like I think
Yeah, yeah.
Stewie would be like Asia's sister, slide over. I'm gonna be the new Candace, and y'all got it before she stinks.
I can
no,
also
no,
see
not she doesn't have to
Stewie.
stink, but the
Well,
team
before her
stinks.
team stinks is what I mean. Like she
Oh,
said, I'm not going down bad on my
I
career.
can, you know what? I can also see Stewie, being that person, you know, calling up Seattle. Hey, yo, Jewel, you trying to run it back in New York?
she
Bet.
might she might be calling up Skylar Diggins Smith.
Hey, who knows? You know what I mean? But all in seriously though, I do think that I I really truly believe that it's extremely funny how things could possibly work out in New York the next 2 years. Because again, I think the consensus, within this panel, we all agree that they needed this one. Like they were blowing it. Sandy was going to get fired. We know this. Come on now. We know this. Sandy, like, this is literally a Budenholzer moment for Sandy right now. Like, if they didn't get this one, Sandy was up out of there. I don't care what anybody says. Like, Sandy was up out of there. Um, so for them to win it, it takes that immense pressure off of the Liberty. Now, next year, they can go out and they can do whatever. They can hoop and be free. They can lose as many games as they want. Guess what? Everybody gonna say, well, at least we got that one. They'll be the 2008 Boston Celtics. Because I swear, KG and Paul Pierce still talk about that goddamn ring. And I'm like, dog.
I listen.
Not too much on our guys. Not too much on our guys.
I mean,
They work
Listen.
for that. They work for that
They
one.
they
I
would
know.
they would have
I
known
know.
what they would have won another one, and KG not broke his leg. Is all I'm gonna say. Speaking of the
No,
Celtics,
2000. You're right. 2009. Right.
speaking of the Celtics, I know we're talking about the Liberty right now. I would just like to say that the Pacers were up by 20 with like 8 minutes left, and we're going to overtime. So
Oh
they are
wow.
That's
they
so
are
nasty.
unserious group of people over
The
there.
Pacers are so unserious. I wonder what Tyrese Halliburton doing right now. He ain't
He
hopping and skipping
he
no more, right?
No, so it was 121 to 122, and he hit a shot to put them up by 3, and Tatum hit a 3, and then they missed their next shot. So, but yeah, that's all yeah. Um, Yeah, we can go
Shout
back to
shout out
Liberty.
to the Celtics though. I respect what they did in 2008 first off because they knocked out the Detroit Pistons, which was the only team that was going to give them hell. Um and huge shout out to the 2024 Boston Celtics. Finally got over that hump. Respect the two J's for sure. Love I love Drew Holiday, man. Like that's a point guard that I always tried to, even though me and him were probably around the same age, like he tried to pattern his game behind Gary Payton, and I tried to do the same. So like I gotta give a shout out to Drew Holiday. That's my guy. But yeah, man, yeah. Going back to the Liberty. It's you know what? From a Liberty standpoint, right? I know we all said like they had to win this one, but I want to ask you guys a question. Had that 5-0 not been called and they lose this series, what happens? Like, what, like,
I am
Go ahead,
rejoicing
Jermaine.
because Sandy, you're cooked. You're gone. You're gone. You cannot hide behind them no more. You're cooked. You're cooked. Sab, you're a fraud. Brianna Stewart, you are now number 3. Fee just snatched your chain. JJ, we don't want to see you no more. You're cooked. The whole group is cooked. They are lucky that foul call happened. Because they are cooked if that did not happen. Honest, really, Sandy was gone. Because I was tired of people being like she a good coach. Sandy was throwing shit at the wall in that game. She was like, I don't know what we gonna do. Who's available? Like she was like closing her eyes and saying, yeah. Come on. You get out there. And it sort of worked.
Yeah, cause I think they were saying like that big lineup. They said she had never run that at any point in
no,
the season.
never, never,
Never.
never,
So they
never.
was like, she really was like, look, y'all, we got to figure something out when this is over with. So
Was she Kurt Miller the year that they were in what year that was when Kurt Miller was there and they had the soundbite? Y'all gonna get me fired if y'all don't make y'all layups.
that was 20, was it 22?
Was that 22? It had to
Was
have
it
been
22?
22.
He was like, y'all can't get. He's like, I'm gonna get fired because y'all can't get a rebound.
And he absolutely did get fired.
He deserved it. I'm sorry. You need to be bringing the best out of your people. And Sandy, that's why I'm so mad at Cheryl. We're not talking about them right now, though. We're not talking about them. Yeah, they would have been cooked. They would have been cooked.
Yeah,
The
I
slander
agree.
would have been so bad. I
Oh
honestly might
man.
not even whack them because it would have the TL would have been terrible for days. I would have got a
Oh,
good chuckle the first day, but it
oh,
would
they
have dragged
still
it.
would have been talking about it. They still would have been
Literally,
talking about
still
it.
to this day. Yeah,
They
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 would have
still
never
would have
done
been
it.
talking about it. They
Yeah.
still would have been talking. Yeah, I agree with you, Jermaine. Like she was up out of she was up out of there. Like she pulled a rabbit out of her behind and was like, all right, here's what we're gonna do. Saab, get up out of there. You can't shoot. I'm gonna put Stewie, I'm gonna put Niara, I'm gonna put Leone, I'm gonna put KT, and I'm gonna put JJ out there. Help me. Help me. Help me. You know what I'm saying? And it worked. Like it worked because I ain't never hear Courtney Williams that quiet. And you know what? I'm gonna keep it a bean. Courtney Williams, like, because it's New York, Courtney Williams got her ass saved from a whole bunch of slander on the timeline. Because if you notice, Courtney said, "Oh, we ain't going back to New York. Nah. We winning this here. We ain't going back to New York. We got our one. We ain't going back." And they end up going back to New York. And she shot 2 for 14 in that entire game. Like she was like straight up, like she was so quiet you could hear a mouse piss on cotton. Quiet. Like,
Now,
and
what really saved her was them winning Game 4 because if
yes.
she would have historically said we're not going back to New York, and New York won the next two games, that would have been one of the nastiest quotes in like sports history. Like that would have been ran back forever. That would have been on the parade, for real, for real.
Straight up nasty work. Oh yeah, that would have been on jumbo. That would have been on jumbotron and Barclays. They would have had a huge projector out there. Like I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure they would have been that petty. But and this is another thing that I will give somewhat respect for the Liberty. They weren't petty. They just they kept the celebration between them. That was it. Now, whoever put that Target bag with the brown bag with the Birkin, that was funny. That was funny.
That was
I would that was funny, right? Like, cause she damn sure played like a fucking Target bag. I'm sorry. She played like a Target bag in game 5. Like, she was in her Birkin in game 4, but that Target bag came out in game 5. Like, for real, for real.
Yeah, that was rough. She was my girl, and then I was like, she was kind of closing it out with the rebound, and then the
Yep.
thing happened. I was like, you know what, this is not not meant, it's not meant, but it's fine.
Court's my girl. Like, I love Court. Love Court. Like, love her game. Love that she elevated her game. I respectfully do call her I don't call her a point guard, right? I call her more of a hybrid guard. Like a lead guard. Like, so I do respect that she doesn't want to be called a point guard because obviously, she doesn't have or doesn't possess the traditional point guard skills. But for her to do what she did in Minnesota this year has been incredible. And they didn't get enough love nationally, which I believe that it was asinine. Fee didn't get enough love, and if Asia didn't have the historical like season that she had from a regular season standpoint, Fee definitely would have been MVP in my book. She would have gotten my vote for sure. But Asia just had a damn dog. Asia just had a season, yo. Like, that's wild. 1,000 points, most points average since Diana Taurasi. Like, to be a power forward center doing that. Like, that was just impressive. But Fee, like, I respect Fee a lot. And I love her game so much. So she's definitely earned her spot as that top three. I think she's top two, to be honest with you. Like, I think it's Asia, then it's Fee, then it's Stewie. Like, just respectfully, like, I know that Stewie literally said, listen, if I'm not going to be the premier person from a scoring standpoint, I'm gonna get the rebounds. I'm gonna play defense. Like, the scoring, I've done that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you saw me in 2018. You saw me in 2020. Like, I've done that. Like, it's time for me to be more of a contributor. So I respect her for openly saying that, right? But I'm glad that they are leaving the debates to us, right? So we'll leave it at that.
Okay. Yeah. I guess like our final question is the Liberty have two draft picks, one in the first round and one in the third round. Um we've looked at some mock drafts. I actually hate mock drafts this early in the year. I actually hate mock drafts in general because there are not enough good WNBA ones. So then you see stuff like Caroline Ducharme, no shade to my sister, but you see stuff like she's going first round. And I'm like, that baby ain't played in 2 years. So she's definitely
Right.
not going first round. We're not going to see her. Um, so I already hate them. But just in general, is there anybody you think um, um we know this college season hasn't even really ramped up yet, but just anybody you might think you might be like Liberty should kind of aim for, or even a position or a player, a position that you're like, okay, like they should definitely get another guard or they should definitely get a 3-point shooter or anything like that.
I mean, depending on me personally, I think there needs to be a bucket getter. Um, and I can't think of anybody right now that comes to mind in this class in particular because they might get the 11th or well, they might get between 11 to 13. I know they do have a first round pick, and then they have a third round pick coming up. And who knows? Who knows? They might even trade that pick. Literally, I truly believe that Niara Sabally is going to find her way to New York. Like after seeing it's almost inevitable. Like after seeing what we saw like last week, I'm like, come on, yo. Like you weren't even on the team, yo. Like you really celebrating. I know that's your sister, but like you in the WNBA too. You forgot? You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't be surprised if they would even trade that pick. Maybe to Dallas. In Dallas, like Dallas, all Dallas want to do is draft bigs.
Dallas does
The
not
draft
need any more picks. They don't need to draft anything. We said that last year before they drafted three people. They're banned from the draft, actually.
Yo, I'm kind of surprised they even went JC Sheldon at 5. I thought they were gonna. I literally thought they were gonna go Aaliyah Edwards. I legit thought that. Oh, they go another big coming off the board. Like, how many more bigs you need? And the bigs that you got ain't even play to the standards that you thought. Like, stop drafting these bigs. So, if I'm trying to think of one in in college right now, it's very difficult to to even think about a draft pick in the first round. In the third round, I think there's always diamonds in the rough. Um, it again, just like you said with mock draft, because I even did a mock draft last year, and I had to do like 3 versions of it because you had Chicago make a trade, you had not Minnesota, you had I think the Mystics made a trade. Like I'm like, damn, like y'all making these trades. So I had to do like 3 versions of my mock draft, and I was like, you know what? This is probably my last year doing a mock draft. I was literally trying to be as objective as I could with the personnel that was coming out. Like, and then you had so many players that said, you know what? I'm gonna come out of school. Like Georgia Amore was a perfect example. Like Georgia Amore was a Washington Mystic in my first mock draft. And then when Kenny Brooks said, all right, I'm chucking the deuces. I'm not going to be at Virginia Tech anymore. I'm going to Kentucky. Georgia Amore. Georgia Amore has yet to declare for, oh shit, she's going to Kentucky. So got to scratch her name off. Like, well, the Mystics really need a point guard, right? And they didn't go point guard. They went Aaliyah Edwards. So it's extremely difficult right now to choose a player. But if the Liberty needs anything, they need a bona fide like bucket getter, like straight up like Benijah Laney 2.0 that can come off the bench and give you at least by average 8 or 9 points per game so that they can spell some Laney minutes because we all know what Laney's role is now. They could probably spell, Sabrina some minutes or something like that. I think they're very versatile enough to if they do keep JJ, Stewie, obviously Leonie Febish. I mean, if you want to draft someone to take KT's spot, maybe, but who's out there? Like who's out there that's going to be, a Kayla Thornton? Like who's going to be a Taylor Soul type player? Like so it's very difficult to kind of, you know, navigate through that right now.
Well,
Um, oh,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say some of the ones we see. To the draft point though, I feel like if Marquisha Davis like develops this year, I don't know what she's gonna do in the off season, but like
She could be
she
that.
very
She
well
could be
could
that Lady
be.
2.0.
She could be that.
Athletes
Yeah, she and
Unlimited.
like even some of
I
her.
hope you have a spot open.
Oh, they got plenty spots open. You know, in rival come they
Stealing their personnel.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
don't even get me started. Don't even get me started on this.
Unrivaled was like, yeah, let me go ahead and take. Yeah, I'm gonna
I'm
take
very
her
glad
off.
Alyssa
I'm gonna
Peely
take.
went there. Speaking of like that,
Oh, shout out to Alyssa Peely, man.
the greatest Alaskan sports person ever.
Like shout out to Alyssa Peely, man. Like I love her game. I love her game.
I was gonna say some of these draft boards, they have the Liberty taking Rory Harmon,
No,
which
see,
makes no sense. They have Jalen
see.
Sherrod.
You already
Um,
got Jalen Sherrod, who has a year of experience. Why would you draft Rory Harmon? Like, see,
see, and then this one got Cheyenne Day Wilson. Same thing. Like, why would you? She don't even go to Duke no more. That's not even updated. Um,
I heard she got hurt too.
did she? Oh my God,
Oh
Hmm.
no.
that's not good. This one has Yvonne, Yajim, and they spelled her name wrong. I love Yvonne, but
Hmm.
I don't know if she first round pick material.
She's honestly, if we're keeping it a bean once again, by evaluation, she's late second round, early third round, literally to undrafted. Like that's how big the window is for her. She can go as like they have her. So she's like Charisma Osborne. Out that's a great comparison.
Yeah,
Like she can go as early as the first round, but she can literally go undrafted.
yeah. And then this one has Maddie Sure, and I don't know why they would have Maddie Sure going. Yeah, that don't even make sense to me. None of these options make sense to me. But too, I feel like this draft is very guard heavy, and so
Yes.
there's not a lot of people that I'm like, yeah, we could take her. Maddie Westbeld is one up here, but she got injured recently, if I'm
Hmm.
not mistaken. Yeah, it's not too many forwards that I'm like, okay, or even that middle, that not too many wings that I'm like, okay, yeah, like she'll be good. Um, Yana Neepkins could be solid, but I don't know. She coming off an injury too, so who knows if she's actually gonna enter the draft. Like, there's nobody that's really popping to me either that I'm like, okay, yeah, we'll definitely New York definitely should focus on them. But maybe after the season that'll change. But that's all I got.
Jay, would you like to say the line?
Oh yeah. I believe that all hearts and minds are clear.
Uh, Mr. Kevin, would you have anything else you would like to add?
Listen, I'm just, grateful that you all consider me to come on. I appreciate you guys. Like again, I'm a huge fan of you all and continue to do what you guys are doing for the sake of the sport. I always, as a guest, try to uplift, my peers. Like there's a lot of people out here like on the strength for real, not trying to put other people on. And like I'm always going to be a fan of women's basketball first, even if I'm not, doing journalist work, even if I'm not doing producer work, even if I'm not, covering. Like I'm always going to be a fan. So continue to do what you all are doing. I'm proud of each and every one of you. You guys make me laugh. I'm so glad we were able to just have this genuine conversation. Like it literally just continued to flow. And I think we all were thinking the same things the moment it came out of our mouths, right? So I appreciate each and every one of you and continue to do your thing, man. Like I'm gonna always shout y'all out, for sure. So you'll always have a fan of me, but it was, definitely great being on.
We
Thank you so
appreciate
much. We
you
appreciate
very
that.
much.
I appreciate that.
We're very honored. You are a wonderful guest. We talked about you having you on here before, like multiple times. You are a very cool individual, like as advertised. And again, like we try to make our guests as comfortable as possible, because we just want, like, that's just how we talk to each other. So we're glad that you felt this comfortable talking to us. We certainly enjoyed your company and your vast knowledge and things of that nature. So, um, yeah, all props to you and the things you do and the things you've been doing. Like the fact you're doing this stuff full time is a goal for all of us. So like you are the standard. So yeah,
I appreciate that.
we appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. And listen, college basketball is literally right around the corner. So if y'all need me to hop on again, we talk about top 25. We talk about who we like, who we don't like. Matter of fact, I need you guys to be on Jump Ball and Study Hall. Shameless plug. I have a college podcast, Jump Ball and Study Hall, and I really want you guys on to be my panel, where we talk, everything college basketball, everything grassroots basketball. So if y'all know any girls basketball players, like from a recruiting standpoint, just say the word. They'll get their shout out, on the pod. And, like just like this, we'll just have a good time. I'm, what's funny? Graduated from Clemson. How in the hell can I be a huge fan of the South Carolina Gamecocks, right? Like, I just love Dawn. I love that squad. Like, they're gonna look a lot different this year, but it's a good different. Like, they're not gonna have like that premier big that they can just dump, on the block. And like they're just so versatile this year. Um, I can't wait to see, what they got going. Like, I tweeted something yesterday. I was like, how in the world are you going to scout for Raven Johnson and Tahina Pow, right? As a starting backcourt. Then you got Malaysia and Tessa coming off the bench. Not to mention, Maddie McDaniel is no slouch. Maddie McDaniel was like that. And I'm sure she's going to get minutes this year. So that's 5 guards that you have to prepare for. As a coach, as an assistant coach, as a recruiting coach, as a X's and O's coach, like on a coaching staff, that will give me headaches. Like, for real. So I can't wait to see what they do. I can't wait to see what UConn does. Like, Paige is back, AZ is back. Like, I can't wait to see what Sarah Strong does. Like, oh my God, Sarah Strong is like that deal. Like, I ain't even talk about Joyce Edwards. Like, Joyce Edwards is that deal, but like Sarah Strong is that deal as well. And college basketball gonna be so fun this year. I can't wait to cover it. And I can't wait to have y'all on Jump Ball and Study Hall for real.
Just let us know.
Yeah, yeah, we'll have to get on because like Juju and her twin Kennedy
I ain't even talk
like,
about Southern Cal.
and
Oh my
the
God.
conference realignments. It's about to get nasty in a good way.
Olivia Miles is back.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Yeah.
Yo, it's gonna be, oh my God. Roy Harmon's back. Yo, Texas. Yo, it's gonna be a dope season, yo. It's gonna be a dope season. So I appreciate y'all for sure though.
Well,
Yeah.
this has been another episode of Pull Up 3. I am Paragon Don.
I'm Jamae.
And I'm Jay Trent.
And
Kevin K. Lewis.
and we will see you all